Hola! JJ Meets World is brought to you by Weedman Design. Senior Adam Weedman founded Weedman Design Company in 2016 on the belief that one-on-one relationships are more important than just being a one-stop shop. Adam works with you to get your message across and to make you look good to your clients, one of the most important things in business. Let's face it, in this day and age where it's easier than ever to be visible, if you don't look good, you look bad. We contacted Adam right away when we said, we need a logo for JJ Meets World. We gave him almost zero input, and he showed us something that we didn't even know that we wanted. It was great. For more information, check out weedmandesign.co. That's Weedman, W-I-E-D-M-A-N design.co.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
When you're wiring a house, what do you think are the important things that people, like if you're building a brand new house, what are the important wires that you're wiring into the house in the 21st century?
Ethernet.
Ethernet? Just Ethernet?
Yep.
So I was thinking
besides your electricity.
HDMI ports are probably a good idea.
Okay.
Where you can just plug you could plug your computer into it and it would, then you got another port somewhere where the TV's hooked up.
Okay.
I was also thinking that, are people putting phone lines in homes nowadays? Or are they shying away from phone lines because we get most of our stuff through cable services or internet based?
I would guess that new homes don't have the same copper phone wiring that old ones did.
Is that what phone wire is made of? Copper?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I shouldn't have thrown away all those telephone lines. Okay, how much copper? Do you ever once a year we see something where someone steals a bunch of copper from a construction site?
Yeah.
Because copper is a metal that we are getting low on.
It's reusable.
Right, but we're getting low. You know, we're in a building right now that's 100 years old, and it's not like we're pulling the copper out of this and sending it down to new buildings that are being built.
We could, and if we don't get a sponsor pretty soon, we'll probably do that after Adam's thing is done.
That was one of the things we've had some big floods in our neck of the woods, and when the city buys out homes to build a dike, one of the things they do is they open up bids from contractors who will go in and say, like, I'll give you $10,000 to go in there and take whatever I want out of the house before it's demolished. Sort of like storage wars.
Yeah.
And I was in one of those homes after one of those contractors had gone in, and they pulled out the cabinetry and they pulled out all the wiring and the piping so that they got all those copper pieces. It is a sad thing to be in a house after its guts have been ripped from pieces. I've been in homes that were destroyed by fires, floods, things like that, but it's a whole other thing to see someone go in with a Sawzall and just rip the innards.
It would make me think of like a story where someone just is living in their home and they need the money because of whatever, and so they go into the walls to pull things out. I think it must be sad because it makes you think of a level of desperation that you've never known, where you're literally going, well, to make the next thing, I gotta pull the copper out of my walls.
Pull my pipes out. Yeah, and I've been to the point where I've been broke, right? Mm-hmm. Where I don't have a 2 dimes to rub together, or is it 2 pennies? I don't have any coins to rub together. But I've never been to the point of where I've had to sell the things I need to take a shower or give me life-giving water. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I forget that you got to remember there are people out there that happens to. And you got to think about that when you're doing stuff like, oh, I'm going to go to this charitable organization where it looks like an elementary school carnival and I'll spend $10,000 here. Sometimes charities spend so much money on getting me to come in to give them more money. Mm-hmm. I always think, why not just make a really great video, like an impassioned plea, and get me to send you money, and then you're not spending other money. I know that we've got, I mean, if this were a highway, it would be a coastal highway because we've been all over in this intro already. But I want to do an art piece where I keep every piece of mail I receive for a full calendar year that asks me for money.
Okay.
So when I participate in charitable works like Giving Hearts Day, or if I become a member of an organization or a group, undoubtedly, let's say I give $10 to the ASPCA. I swear that in the next year, they will send me $50 worth of mail. And then I think, well, come on, guys.
Yeah, they're playing a numbers game because they know that since you've donated in the past, you have a higher, likelier percentage of donating in the future. So, like, to them, that initial $10, yeah, to them, that's not, oh, we can't wait to put this $10 towards the cause. Like, oh, someone has just signaled us with $10 that they may be a source of more dollars in the future. So I'm wondering if there is sort of a, like a low number that you could, like, if you donated $2, would they have done the same thing? Or like, oh, no, he's just...
Oh, he's a deuce.
There's nothing coming out of this guy from the future.
And that's the thing is, if they didn't send me, if I didn't think that my money was being wasted,
Yeah.
I would probably give to them on a regular basis. But we live in a world where there are more charities now than there have ever been before. Mm-hmm. There are also, more people are competing for your dollar, for your charitable thank you dollar. Mm-hmm. And you've got to step up your game. I totally understand that, and I totally understand the aspect of we need this money to survive as an organization. But that being said, we also live in a time when it's much easier for me to access information about, like, how much are you paying your CEO?
Yeah.
You know, what are you investing the money that I'm giving you in? You tell me that you need $250,000 for something. Well, what percentage of that is actually going to the cause and not the campaign for the cause?
Yeah, I know, and maybe I'm speaking out of my ass here, but I know I've seen...
No, that's your mouth.
Okay, good. Enough stories about, what is it, like the Susan B. Komen? Mm-hmm. Like they're supposedly known for the vast, vast, vast majority of the money that they bring in just goes towards having more foundation things, and that a very small percentage of it actually goes towards the cause it's being raised for. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I can only say that I've seen that alleged multiple times in public. And so is that kind of what you're talking about?
That is absolutely what I'm talking about. There was a documentary about the Susan B. Komen. I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was Pink Ribbons Incorporated.
Okay.
Is what it's called. And you can watch this documentary, and it's about breast cancer, but it's really about the money and how money gets spent going towards it. And there are groups that license that particular pink. So you can buy a KitchenAid that supports the Susan G. Komen, but you'd be better off just buying a KitchenAid and sending $50 to a group that's researching some new trial for cancer.
Like what they definitely have is they have this brand now that has gotten enough good PR that it's sort of synonymous with a good thing, and you see it and you feel like, oh, because I see this brand, this pink ribbon, that means that this is a good place to leave my money. But that's their success right now, is that all they have to do is show that pink ribbon, and you give them money. And you're probably not, most people are not going to be discerning enough to go, what exactly is this money going towards?
Do you have any charities that you really like?
Once I have enough money to donate to charities again, I will. That's not what you asked. You asked me, are there charities that I like? My current favorite charity...
But a nice way to make yourself a charity case while we're doing this.
Well, if only I had some more money. Burp.
If only people would donate to our
Patreon.
The current charity that I really, really like is in town here, and it's called Cat's Cradle.
Okay.
They are a no-kill shelter for cats that you can go to and adopt. And my girlfriend's told me this before. I think one of the, like, there hasn't been, for the past few years, a cat euthanized in this area that didn't actually need it, like that wasn't injured and beyond helping. A lot of shelter, a lot of the pound in different states, they get an animal, they only hold on to that animal for a short amount of time, and then they euthanize the animal. That doesn't happen to cats in this area. I don't know if it happens to dogs, but it doesn't happen to cats. Cat's Cradle is awesome, and the best thing about Cat's Cradle is that a couple days of the week you can just go over there and just play with roomfuls of kitties.
Really?
You just walk in and just play with the kitties. It's the best.
That's a pretty sweet charity. I
Yeah.
can get behind that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like that. Have you ever heard of Extra Life?
No.
It's a charity that raises money to put like video game systems in children's hospitals.
Okay.
I love that. I think that's awesome because there's nothing more depressing than a hospital, especially if you're a little kid.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that they do with children's hospitals is when they dress the window washers up like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. And so when they go by the windows of the children, they're still washing the windows. They're still doing their job, but it looks like Spider-Man is washing the windows.
It's not
I think
like
that's
Carson
pretty
Wentz
sweet.
or something.
No, they've got him down in the atrium throwing like a football, and he throws it and then runs and catches it himself. It's very impressive. Very, very impressive things. So I guess what I'm getting at here is if you're pulling copper out of your house, are you donating your copper to charity? If I'm going to bring this thing full circle.
Every one of these, JJ, I love it. I love that you just start with something, and I go, man, I wonder how this is going to connect to today's guest. But we'll get there eventually.
Because maybe that's a great way for a charity to start making some money is to say, listen, don't let this contract. I know you're making money off of this contractor, but you're going to tear down this house for whatever reason. Let us go in and we will pull the guts out of it. There was I can't remember the name of the charity, but you can donate your car to, it's like the United States of America Society for the Blind.
Okay.
But they need vehicles, or they will part out cars and sell pieces of the car.
The blind are driving these cars?
No, because a blind person can't operate a vehicle the way you're thinking of.
Okay.
But it's something that they figured out, like, hey, this is perfect, right? This is a great way we can do it. And so they've got a series of volunteers and things like that. I know you can't get out of your mind the idea that there is...
I'm trying to bridge the gap between what donating a car to the blind is supposed to do.
Because you're donating it to the organization that provides services to the blind.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I know. Listen,
These blind people are having trouble repairing their cars because they can't see.
I'm not faulting you for thinking that because that's what I thought until I did some deep Googling for that. But there's a million ways, and I think in some cases you probably could get more for donating your car in a tax refund because it's all tax deductible than you could if you sold it on Craigslist.
I never did think about the fact that now with the advent of autonomous cars, that people who are unable for whatever reason to drive themselves somewhere would now have almost full accessibility to almost anywhere because they don't need to operate the vehicle itself. Mm-hmm. My grandmother is turning 93 this year, so she hasn't driven a car by herself for a while, and I doubt she would ever trust an autonomous car. But I think of when I'm like 93, that I won't have to ask for one of my kids to take me somewhere. I don't have to call you up either.
Do you think they'll bridge the gap of the elderly not trusting robot cars by putting like a robot Tucker in and be like, hello, grandma, let's go to where your destination is. And so, because your grandmother is getting to the point of where maybe her eyesight's not so great and her hearing's not so great, that it sort of looks like a blur of Tucker. Mm-hmm. And so she can trust that Tucker will drive her wherever she needs to go. I think that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
We don't have enough. I don't interact on a regular basis with enough robots. That they keep saying that robots are going to outpace some jobs, but I'm not interacting with robots as much as I want. I mean, here's the thing. I was replaced by a robot.
When?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I was. I thought that my career was going to be working at a video store. And then all of a sudden they built the Red Box. And that was the final nail in the coffin for the video store clerk.
Did it take your job or did it save you from your job? Because I think the saddest phrase I've heard you say is, I thought I was going to have a long career in video rental.
Well, I did get fired from that job, But that was my whole dream. But I still feel like a robot took my job. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that is the real rub with a robot taking the video store clerk's job. The video store clerk should be the person who can recommend a movie to you that maybe you haven't heard about, maybe you haven't seen. So I remember people would come in and they'd be like, hey, you're out of Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Could you check the box? And be like, no, you don't want that. Let me tell you what you do want. And I'd be like, tell me the last 3 movies you liked. And I'd recommend. So here, for example, Tucker, name 3 movies you like, and I will recommend a movie for you.
Okay. Avengers. Mm-hmm. Captain America: Civil War. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Okay. Captain Ron. You're going to love it. It's a great Kurt Russell film. We have it both on VHS and Laserdisc, available for rental right now. One person who I have always been able to talk to a really obscure, weird movies with is our guest today, Randi Olsen.
Really?
Randi Olsen and I have been chums for a very, very long time. In fact, she probably is she's like a little sister.
Oh, yeah.
Almost to me. And she hates it when I say that. So it's a good thing that she's waiting just beyond the door and can't hear what I'm saying right now. But Randi knows so many people and in so many different ways where I'd say, hey, Tucker, do you know Randi? Oh, yeah, I know Randi. And then 3 people would look up from their phones and be like, oh, we talking about Randi?
So is what Randi does, what would you say her official job title is?
She owns her own business. She owns her own small business.
Yeah.
And healer, I think, is a great way to describe that. She deals with massage and yoga, journaling. So
it seems like hers would be a position that it would be hard to automate.
Oh, you could never do that.
Like I mean, I don't want to say never. I don't want to be Fievel here, but
what? That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't he?
Oh,
say?
Never say never.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It makes complete sense, JJ.
No.
How dare you not understand a Fievel reference?
Because I only like one part of An American Tale.
Really?
It's the end over the credits. They do the Linda Ronstadt version of Somewhere Out There, but for reasons I don't even want to get into, that have very little to do with our guest Randi.
But as far as the never thing, though, I mean, maybe at some point in the future, the best massage you can get would be from a robot. It's not right now, and I doubt it's going to be anything soon because I love a good massage, and I much prefer a massage from someone who's using their hands than say like those waterbed massages you can see in the mall or things like that. Like,
have you tried one of those?
Yeah.
Are they any good?
No,
I've never tried them.
No, I mean they're nothing compared to a human giving you a massage who can actually hone in on knots and things like that. And so, yeah, that's definitely part of what Randi does. I just don't think I think it would be very difficult to automate that.
If robots began giving massage, I would wait a few years. I would not be on the beta test because I don't want my obituary to read was crushed by a massage robot. Was accidentally
Yeah. Could you put some deep work into my neck? Yes, JJ.
Yes. You got it.
Deeper.
Why do we assume robots are going to talk like that? In fact, they've really made some strides to make robots not. Robots talk more like this than anything else.
I would almost prefer a robot that spoke like this kind of robot because of the uncanny valley. Do you know that? You know that phrase?
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't know that phrase, the uncanny valley is basically the bridge between a non-human thing acting like a human. And so the best way to put it is if you see like a robot at like Chuck E. Cheese or something, let's say it's of a human, and it's made to look like a human, right? So it's got eyes and nose and ears and all that stuff. And they tried to make it look as realistic as possible, but it's not quite there. That feels more disconcerting to see than a robot who looks nothing like a human. That looks like a cartoon.
It's all boxy.
Or that's all boxy or something like that. The closer it gets to being human looking without actually being convincing, it becomes creepier and creepier, and that kind of describes the uncanny valley. And that's why I kind of feel like I would prefer robots that don't sound like a human. Like, I don't know if I want my automatic car to talk to me and make me feel like there's a human trapped inside there somewhere that I have to reason with.
I'm worried that the robots will start judging me, and someone will be able to program things outside of my control, being like, McDonald's again? No. And be like, welcome to the farmer's market. That's what I really worry about here. But you don't have to worry about that with Randi Olsen.
No.
She's a real live human girl.
Does she go by Randi Olsen still?
No, I know she's got her married name, but don't you have people that will always be known as the first name you learned for them?
Yeah.
So I will always, I've got a friend, Annie Donaldson, and her new married name is Annie Savageau, but I will always call her Annie Donaldson. Our friend Jake Harchie, I will always call Jake, even though he wants people to call him Jacob now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake. I'm not going to do that.
See? So sometimes I think it's just hard. Now, if someone came up to me and said, listen, it's a really big deal that you start calling me by my new name, Gazorb-Zop, I would say, okay, Gazorb-Zop. I will do my best.
But every time I say it, I'm going to say it in a sarcastic tone of voice. I'm not going
Right.
to say it like a regular name.
Well, I think one of the nice things about Randi is Randi gave me a nickname right away when we became friends, way, many, many years ago. That was Jeej. Jeej. Which is funny because most people call me Jage.
Yeah.
It really, I think it's just the natural evolution of
Yeah.
trying to not say JJ,
Yeah.
Jage. But so Jeej, she'll text that to me. My phone now recognizes it as a real word, so it won't try and correct me on it. But Randi is she's an interesting person who's done a lot of stuff, insanely talented. She's got an amazing singing voice. She performs on the regular. We even find out that she was on a podcast that I guess at the time of this recording is more famous than ours.
Yeah,
but you
that's
never know.
a wide gamut of podcasts. That really narrowed it down for us, JJ.
And so if you enjoy Judge John Hodgman, you definitely want to listen to this podcast because we've got a real life story to tell you about that. And let's not get too deep into what we're going to talk about with Randi because there's a lot of stuff that we cover here. Enjoy this. My guest is Randi Heinold is her married name.
Let's call her Randi.
Randi Kay.
JJ Meets World.
Welcome to the podcast, Randi Kay, or Randi Heinold if you're looking for her, Social Security background
Technically, it's
information.
Randi Kay Olsen Heinold.
That is a lot.
That's why I go by Randi Kay.
Good, okay.
Because
So,
I have a lot of names.
RK is in the studio right now. You could be RKO.
RKO,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that is what your initials
That's what
were
I've
for a long
been
time.
For my whole life, yeah.
That's nuts. Well, Randi,
I'm
thanks.
still RKO because OH is like O.
RKO.
Yeah.
See, look at that. We're solving the problems of the world right now.
It's like Rufio.
So, Randi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
The podcast is called JJ Meets World, and you've been a part of the world for a very long time.
You've been a part of JJ's world for a very long
Thanks,
time.
Tucker. Yeah, I'll be 33 next month, so it's a little bit.
Me
And
too,
we met-
high five.
Hey,
In like less than a week.
Well,
go
good for
team.
you.
Yeah.
I am older. So,
Not that much.
Randy,
JJ's a man of a certain age.
yeah, we met. Were you a sophomore in high school when we met?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was either that or the summer before. Somehow.
Did you do Look Ma No Script?
Yes.
Was that between your freshman and sophomore year?
I don't know. It's all a blur.
I think it
so.
probably was,
I think
right?
it was. Yeah.
'Cause that's like when I met Natalie Deutsch
Mm-hmm.
and all of those fun, crazy kids.
Yeah.
So, Randi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an Aries.
Okay. Temperamental.
I thought that changed. Didn't that shift like a couple years ago?
Yeah, but nobody cared. I think. I think everyone.
It's as effective today as it was a
I
couple years
think
ago.
everyone was like, we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Did they
It's the
add
world.
another one? Is that what happened?
I
Or
think
they just changed the
shifted
dates?
They shifted the date ranges for each.
Because something happened in the cosmos, and now the degrees were different or something. I'm not the person to ask, but I probably know more than you guys do about that.
I guarantee you do.
I know
Which
more
is
than
just-
you guys,
is a
but I'm
smidgen.
not an expert.
That's how I make my living.
There's
Just
probably
kidding.
let's list other topics you probably know more than us about, but not more than, let's say, an expert in that field.
Oh gosh. Well,
Vitamins.
Yeah,
vitamins.
vitamins.
I do know some things. I was gonna say sci-fi because usually I beat people out on that, but not this crowd.
Nope.
Not this crowd. As I
You're
drink
drinking out of a
my-
Next Generation mug right now.
Yeah, when you asked if I wanted a Picard mug, 'cause I knew I was out of my league.
You probably know more about the healing arts
I do.
than even most people.
I probably know more about enemas.
That's a big thing in your line of work.
No, but it is a thing that people do for cleansing. And so again, not an expert, but probably have a little bit more experience than you guys.
Do you have a particular brand of enema product that you want to like throw out here?
No, but I recently read a book where they were like highly suggesting coffee enemas. And I looked it up online and I like put all the supplies in my Amazon cart. And then I was like, no.
Dark
Wouldn't that-
roast or light roast? Like,
I think it's the dark roast.
because it has less caffeine.
There's a specific brand that's like enema coffee.
Wouldn't it burn you though?
I'm not sure.
That's probably cold press.
Yeah.
Oh,
you could-
that-
You could,
I figured like you just put a little tube on your Keurig, and
I figured you'd
brew.
You could
What's
always
the
make some
butt button?
concentrate. Yeah, you could just make some concentrate and then
They
put the
actually
concentrate
have like
in your colon.
a
Coffee
bag
colon.
that you order too.
Okay.
With a tube. They have like this whole like mechanism that you use to give yourself this coffee enema. You can get it in like a kit.
So
a
please
starter
click
kit.
please click our affiliate link at the bottom of this page for coffee colon enemas.
Does someone give this to themselves, or is this a professional
Yeah.
service that you offer?
Oh, I do know. I'm not licensed for that.
You have to be both a barista
Yeah.
and take an online
very
course
advanced.
to give a coffee enema.
Training. No, I'm sure like places in California do it, but like not here. Usually I would, if I would have followed through, I would have done my own enema. Yeah.
I saw something very interesting recently, speaking of like these things that sound interesting, but I would never try. There is a woman who's very popular with musicians for giving bite therapy.
I saw that.
Her name's Dr. Dot. I've emailed her several times to try and get her an interview with her, but the problem is because she works with the musicians, she's only up at night. Like, so she's doing this bite therapy at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and she's not really during waking regular hours that I have.
Right.
So she's, I don't know, maybe she's allergic to the sun, like in that forgettable movie that I guarantee is only going to be in theaters for 1 week, Midnight Sun. A girl's allergic to the sun, but she finds her love at night? Yeah, right.
What is bite therapy? What goes into that?
Where it's what you'd think it is. You just bite people.
Yeah, it's like a massage, but instead of using your hands, you're biting the flesh. Now, it's not licensed because a lot of massage therapists.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's pretend I didn't say messieurs. Say that, well, there's a lot of bacteria involved in a bite.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, problems and situations that can go on with that. So
Yeah,
she
a
kind of
lot
does
of
it
germs.
below the radar.
I mean, I wouldn't. Not only would I not want to get bit, I don't think I'd want to be biting smelly musicians at 2 a.m.
Tell me you don't want.
Right.
Why only musicians?
Well, because they're the ones who like they find it to be like it really awakens your blood, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically it's good for circulation.
There you go, circulation.
But
Getting bit?
yeah, well, like the tension or whatever.
Is she like hickeying them? Like she's doing like
I
cupping,
don't
but
No,
with her
no.
mouth?
So
Hicking.
there's no suction involved. It's just like clamping down and biting. It is like cupping in the fact that
Yeah.
you're kind of you're pulling flesh together into a small mound, but rather than of the cupping, it's
Theater of the mind.
See, JJ,
Theater of the mind, JJ.
surprisingly, you know more about this than I do.
I've been trying to get Dr. Dot on for weeks.
You know what I
we had to
found out?
settle for you, Randy.
I'm
You know what I found out
sorry.
today? Do you know what I found out today that JJ knows nothing about?
What?
Donuts.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly. That was exactly the face and sound I made.
Here,
For someone who enjoys a lot of food and
I do.
crazy food.
I do, but donuts have never been my thing. If you were to say, JJ, you can have any donut in the world, I'd be like, plain cake donut.
Interesting.
And I don't like them on a regular basis. Now, here's the thing. I love muffins, and I love scones.
You're just a classy man.
Maybe I am.
You are looking skinnier these days. So I
Thank you.
think
I've lost a lot of weight on my Jenny Craig diet.
Not eating donuts is good.
Jenny Craig doesn't
working
have
for
donuts,
you.
but they have cinnamon rolls. So twice a week, I have cinnamon rolls for breakfast.
What?
Yeah, right?
I wanna be on that diet.
On Jenny Craig, you get to really eat almost whatever you want because they've got a menu that has over 100 individual dishes.
Please click our affiliate link for Jenny Craig lower in the bio.
In fact, I've got my Jenny Craig white cheddar popcorn over there for my snack later.
Goodness.
I'm ready for it. So okay, we've gotten a slightly off topic here.
Was there a topic
This
to
is
start?
just us hanging out.
This is just us
That's pretty
having
much
a
the show.
conversation.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the highlights of JJ and Randy's relationship over the years.
Oh my gosh.
One of my all-time favorite memories is Randy and I were driving around as we did. I feel like my junior year, your sophomore year, all we did was drive.
We drove around, and frequently Jake Harchie was also in the car.
He was.
And I was sitting on his lap because we both wanted to be in the front seat.
in the front seat. And gas was 97 cents a gallon, so why not? And I had
Yeah.
an old Mercury Mountaineer. It was a great little green car.
We would record things in the sun visor.
Yeah, because it had like a little memo button so you could record what you wanted. And so we'd record little notes and weird stuff. But one time we were driving through a new housing tract where all the houses look exactly the same. And it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We
Yeah.
roll down the window and I yelled, "Houses! You all look the same!"
We just started yelling at him for being
Yeah.
boring.
Mhm.
That was a good one.
And I think Randy was like, "You're the same color." That was fun. That's the kind of like fun that we used to have.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories is when we took a trip to the cities. I don't even know I think we just went and saw improv or something, but we stayed in a hotel and it was like we just shared a room and shared a bed, and you made this barrier of pillows for safety.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we were
the non-relationship
Yeah.
barrier.
which whatever. And so we were there, and then like in the middle of the night I woke up and you weren't there, and I was really freaked out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went around, and then all of a sudden I heard some muffled breathing in the bathroom, and you had gone and fell asleep in the bathtub because you were afraid that I would
Well,
no.
I was snoring so loud.
and then
that
I
you
think
were
I punched you.
Yeah, and you were having a lot of trouble sleeping because of my snoring, which, by the way, has also decreased with my weight.
Oh, congrats.
And it was you pretty much you weren't going to get any sleep, and so I moved to the bathroom and slept in the bathtub,
Yeah.
which was uncomfortable. But I've slept in worse places.
That you have.
Both before and after that occurrence.
Yeah. I think we've also slept in your car before.
We did. We were camping out for one of the Harry,
Harry
Potter,
Potter
movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of
We've had a lot
random
of weird
sleep,
spots.
sleep adventures.
Yeah. You're the first guest who said that we've had sleep adventures. So some interesting things is your family. Every single person in your family is crazy talented.
Yeah.
What is the deal?
I don't know. My parents are cool.
They
I
are
think
cool.
that's
like,
what it comes down to.
Your mom, voice of an angel. Mm-hmm. She's even had the chance to sing with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, right?
She has, yeah.
That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And then your dad, mega musician.
Yeah.
In fact, how many guitars does he have? I know recently he sold some, right?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to say.
That many, huh? That many. Wow. And then, gosh, your older brother Matt, super talented. Your brother
Yeah.
Aaron, super talented.
Yeah, they're fun.
And they're some of the funniest people I've ever met too.
It's true. Yeah.
Like your brother Aaron, he just has to look at me and I start to laugh.
Yeah. I remember when I was my now husband Nate, I was like prepping him to meet Aaron, and I'm just like, he's just like no one you've ever met. Like he's just super chill, and then like makes you laugh hysterically out of the blue, and that's how he is. He just kind of surprises you with his weirdness.
And you, of course, you sing, you act, you heal. What else do you do?
I can dance.
Can you?
Just shaking my groove thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dance like no one's watching.
Yeah, like with my heart song. I'm really good at dancing with my heart song.
Like that the song, like not something like a song that touched you in your heart.
No, yeah.
Okay, but it did.
Like when a song comes on and you can't help yourself but dance, even if you're in the grocery store aisle. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about the song? Like, is that what it's called? Like, I got my heart song. Da, 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 da. We're not talking about that particular song. We're talking about a different.
What they're talking about in that song is what I'm talking about.
All right. Sorry to the 5 listeners who just tuned out after that rambling of nonsense.
On.
But to the 3 people who are listening, are like, I love the heart song.
You know what I'm talking about if you hear a song and you just can't help yourself but move to it.
Yeah. Do you know what song it is for me?
What?
Remix to Ignition.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's the only song I know all the words to. I've got a dance set up to it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've
It's
not
my
seen
go-to.
this.
If I need to impress people at a wedding, I'll go up to the DJ and be like, here's a $5. Here's a Lincoln. Could you throw a little R. Kelly Remix to Ignition on here? Be like, sir, this is a Baptist wedding. And I'd be like, trust me.
They do it for a $5 too.
Yeah, they would. And then I really impress everyone. They're like, look at that guy go.
And then they request another one and you just bomb.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, I already did it once.
That's all I got.
Gotta catch my breath.
No, the reason why I'm not afraid to dance in public is because of my mother. Because she's not afraid to dance in public. She's the mom at the jazz band concerts, where if like in high school, if the band maestro guy is like
The conductor.
Yep.
The teacher.
The teacher.
There's probably a band teacher listening and be like, thank you. I have always wanted to be called a maestro.
Exactly.
That sounds like that's what probably the other teachers who are referring to them sarcastically behind their
Like,
back.
oh,
Like,
maestro.
oh, check out this maestro
Yeah.
walking down the hall.
Oh, gosh, maestro over there.
No, like there was this one time we were at my brother Matt's jazz band concert and the maestro said, if anyone wants to get up and dance to this one, and we all look at my mom and we're like, no, do not, because we're all embarrassed. But one time we were out of town, we were in Disney World, and some swing dance music came on. My mom really wanted me to dance with her to it, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know anyone here, so I'll do that with you. And then I did, and it was a blast, and I've done it. I've never been afraid ever since.
Well, isn't that a good little story? Yeah. Do you want to hear a story about a band concert?
Yeah.
So a previous guest
Do
of this
you
podcast.
want to hear a story about a band concert?
It's
Yeah.
Trust me, you're
Tell
gonna,
me
you're
more.
gonna love this one. A previous guest of the show, Mr. Noel Scotch Anderson. In fact, the maestro of our theme song for JJ Meets World, told me a story. So he's got a son who's just like a genius, a certified genius, and so much so that he started treating his parents with contempt because he knows he is smarter than they are. So this kid's in middle school, and they go to the middle school choir concert. And so this kid is a little socially awkward, and he's got his little band of other socially awkward kids. And so they recognize a couple of these young men, and they're to the age where you see a lot of wrist because they're growing so fast that they can't keep up with their dress shirts. And so the teacher says, okay, now we're going to sing a collection of songs inspired by life on the open ocean. And here's a little something for you. Does everyone here know what a pirate's favorite letter is? And the audience goes, R. And she goes, no, the C. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Well, Scotch says he looks up, and one of this kid's friends, who's really tall, is like just making these like amazing facial, like he's like something is bubbling in him that he's got to do, and all of a sudden you see this look on his face where he's like, I got to do this. And he steps forward out of the bleachers and goes, actually, most pirates were illiterate. And he just couldn't handle this factual inaccuracy of the joke. And then like he said instantly his face kind of like cooled, like, oh, I got that off my chest finally, and got back And then they sang some sea shanties.
I'd like to apologize to any of our listeners who are pirates. We're not, we.
Especially if they're literate pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not trying to make light of your pirate illiteracy.
You can also click further on down with help for reading if the only reason you listen to podcasts is because you suffer from illiteracy. Do you suffer from illiteracy?
Well, pirates do, for certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they suffer from most things, and literacy is one of them.
I suffer from nasal decongestion.
I suffer from literacy. I'm not going to get a March anytime soon for that one.
So I was thinking about March Madness the other day. Do you think that someone's got a March Madness bracket for like John Philip Sousa and the great other marches of all time? And if their March Madness is about marching
It
bands,
sounds like you'd want a compilation CD.
If you
March Madness.
March Madness,
The best in marches from the 17th century.
if you are out there, please contact us.
we've got a whole other podcast we want to launch. It's called JJ March's World. All right, back to Randy and some Randy things.
Yeah.
So Randy, last year I hurt my back real bad doing something stupid, just moving a chair.
That's your first mistake.
It was my first mistake, and I was in a play at the
Never
time.
move chairs.
Yeah, and it was horrible. It was the type of thing where I couldn't get out of bed. If I got, it would take me like 8 moves to roll over. It was horrible. I hated it. I would do this move where my back wouldn't, the muscles in my back wouldn't allow me to turn over in bed, so I'd have to swing my leg wide and kick it and use the momentum from that to flip myself over like I'm in a Street Fighter video game. And so,
Which is cool.
yeah, so I put an all call out on the
You
Facebook.
just sounded like every mom from the 90s. Oh, he's upstairs. He's playing his Street Fighter video game.
And look where it got me. Thanks, Ryu. I don't know if that's one of the ones on there, right?
Yeah.
I always wanted to be the thing from Brazil. Like, was it Blanca, yeah, who got electrified himself.
Yeah.
I never played Street Fighter, but I've watched hours and hours of Street Fighter.
So you know all the inside outs.
Yeah.
So I put an all call out on Facebook saying I threw out my back. It's horrible. I need some help. And really, what I was hoping is someone would be like, "Hey, I've got a bunch of leftover Percocet from my hysterectomy." But what I ended up getting was Randy reached out to me and she's like, well, you should come in for a session. I do Thai massage therapy. And the first thing I thought of with Thai massage therapy was like, shouldn't you be operating out of a dingy alley door somewhere? And it's not. In fact, I have spent
Thanks for stereotyping, Jage.
I have spent the last year of my life telling people about what Randy does. Because the easiest way I can describe it is lazy yoga.
Yeah.
Because you do all these stretches and amazing like positioning, but you don't do the work, or I don't do the work. You do the work. You're kind of twisting me around, and it didn't instantly cure me, but it instantly got me from like being bedridden to being able to go about my life. And then after like the third session, I was back to normal. I was amazed by it. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how you even got into that.
Well, I went to massage school 10 years ago.
Whoa.
I know. I feel old saying that. But, and I learned it in my massage school, like the basic Thai massage. And I already practiced yoga, so I thought it was a really cool modality that I wanted to learn. And I had all these grand plans of like going to Thailand and learning it and blah, blah, blah. And I never did. And then I was here in Fargo and I brought up a guy to teach a massage continuing education class in Thai massage because some people were asking about it. And his approach, he combines trigger point therapy with the Thai massage techniques, and that's what I focus on. So a traditional Thai massage, like mine's, if you go to Thailand and get a Thai massage, it's not going to feel exactly like mine because they're really just like all about the stretching, and some people say it's like super painful and uncomfortable and things like that. But mine's a lot safer approach, and it's very methodical, so depending on what muscles are out on your body, that's like what I focus on and work and try to heal that like pain pattern that's going on with the stretches and the breath work and things like that.
It's pretty amazing.
It is magical. I remember when I wasn't expecting to love his name's Chuck Duff, and he's based out of Evanston.
Chuck Duff?
Chuck Duff.
Great name.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But he combined these methods, and when I learned from him, I was just like, it just blew my mind, because I'm like, whoa, you can treat clinical issues with a more Eastern modality, which doesn't always happen. And so I continued to study with him, and it's kind of evolved into my own style. But it is pretty magical, the combination of the things.
So is my story a pretty common story of people coming in and experiencing something like this and going, whoa?
Yeah, you're pretty common, Jage.
Good.
Yeah.
I like to hear that.
No, I mean, when people come in, I never try to be like, oh, yeah, I can fix you, because you just never know what the person is going to need. But it is pretty common to see results. It's not like one and you're healed necessarily, but it starts the healing process. So your brain is sending a pain signal to your muscle that it needs to be tense and it needs to protect. And so when you can reset that pain signal, then it starts to kind of heal itself. And that's what happened with you.
So one of the things that happened when I threw out my back was I was unable to control my gas.
Aw.
It would just come out whenever it darn well pleased. And so the first time I collapsed in front of Randy, which is what I had to do. I couldn't sit. Mm-hmm. I said, just so you know, I may toot during this thing. And that was the thing about Randy that was really nice. She goes, don't worry. She goes, I've smelt them all.
Well, and you have farted on me intentionally before.
Yes. So it was.
Has he ever sat on your head and farted? Because he did that to me.
I think there might have been probably not as aggressively, because you're a gentleman, but but there was definitely a time where you were farting on, like, because everyone decided that it'd be funny to fart on Randy for some reason, and so
Nowadays we'd have a Facebook group
Yeah.
and like a private chat like session, but Randy had.
It's like that movie Tag. It's like, you've been farting on Randy since high school.
Randy made a big deal about finally one day she was like, everyone stop farting on me. And we took her seriously. But that's my love language.
She drew a red line.
She did.
You crossed my
finally
red
had
line,
it.
guys.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I knew you guys loved me deep down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Were you there the day I got sent to the principal's office?
Because you got stuck in your jacket?
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah, that was with me.
Yeah. I thought so. We had, Randy and I had a drama class together, and I was wearing, like, a jacket, and we had a substitute teacher.
Poor substitute.
And we had closed the hood of the jacket with the drawstring so you could, like, only see my eyes. And they had tied it, and because I had struggled so much to get out of it, you couldn't untie it. And she finally got so mad that she was like, "Jay, you go to the principal's office."
And I was
like,
walked you there.
yeah, I was like,
'cause
oh
you
my
couldn't
God.
really
And I was like, Randy, you
function.
got to do this. And I'm like, use your little fingers. And so, like, Randy was trying to, like, finally we got it undone, and I didn't actually have to go get in trouble.
We figured
But
it out before we got there.
she was very angry.
Plus, I feel like if we did show up at the principal's office, they'd be like, okay, guys.
Yeah, they'd be
just
like,
get out of here.
what are you guys doing here? Certainly not because you're in trouble because one of you tied the other one inside their jacket. But, like, it was so tight, I couldn't get it off of my head. So it's not like I could just take it off.
That was an ordeal for sure.
was.
I feel bad for our substitute. She was really nice.
Yeah,
but
she
I
was a
think
great sub.
She just didn't know what to do.
Yep.
Stark would have just been like, whatever, go in the corner.
The only job that's harder than being a teacher is being a substitute teacher, I think.
know.
Just walking into kids who realize they're going to see you for a day,
Yeah.
and then you're gone.
I have watched substitute teachers cry before.
Yeah.
And so I think you need a certain level of no BS-ery. You know, you gotta have a tough skin if you're gonna be a substitute teacher. And the great substitute teachers are the ones who are like made out of nothing but vinegar and steel.
I can't remember his name, but we had a sub in high school at North, and whenever he would sub, I don't know why he did this, but he would start every class by telling a story of how he was in. He was at the Vatican, I think, and like someone had like climbed it and jumped, like committed suicide in the middle of the day.
Oh my
and he
gosh.
like would go up to the marker board and he would draw like a picture of like the Vatican and the body And like he'd be like, "Yep," and then I watched it, and it
Are
fell
you
down,
serious?
and then he bounced off the ground. He had this whole elaborate story. He would just start the class with that story. That was
And
like
you
his-
heard that story over and
I
over
heard
and
it
over
like
again?
2 or 3 times because he was doing it because there were always new students that he hadn't met. These were for different classes.
Mm-hmm.
He'd sub for English, and then he'd sub for something else. Yeah, so
He'd do it just
It was
so
like-
nobody would mess with him.
no, it wasn't him being tough. I think it was him.
I've seen it all.
Don't mess with me, kids. I saw a guy commit.
I wonder if it's like his therapy, like his way of processing,
I think it's more like a.
telling children
I
about.
think it's more like
story.
a warm up act.
Like, I'm telling you this story so that no one forgets the gentleman from the Vatican.
he's trying to
Well, you're
read the crowd. I think before he
talking
starts
about
the
him
class.
now, Tucker. So
That's true.
he
Made a lasting
it
impression.
worked.
Maybe that's because I heard it 3 times though.
Have you guys ever heard of Deep Eddy Ruby Red Vodka?
It's a fantastic segue.
Well, I got a bunch of promotional chapsticks from Deep Eddy Ruby Red Vodka. I don't even know the company that makes it, but it smells weird. Everyone smell this. Smell this chapstick. It smells like what I imagine the grapefruit vodka smells like. But I was really desperate for chapstick, and so I chose it. The only thing I don't like is it's red, so I assume that my lips really look like I'm glossing up today.
Not any more than usual.
Do you share chapstick, Tucker?
No.
Share chapstick, Randy?
I mean, I have.
Yeah, but not willingly.
I used to have a boss who would carry chapstick and share it all the time, but the way he'd do it is if you asked to use his chapstick, he would go, okay, and he'd pull the chapstick out, and then he would take his finger, just wipe like a centimeter off the top.
Right, so now it's like you're having his finger on there.
Yeah, but he thought he was helping
Yeah.
me, and then I would use it, and then he would just do it again. So he would be running through chapstick like crazy.
I've never heard of anyone doing that.
That was the only time I've ever seen it happen.
Well, I take a Kleenex, and I do the same thing, but with a Kleenex, and I take a chunk off the top, both when I give it to you and when I get it back.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Because I don't want to think to myself that I'm kissing a bunch of people.
Chapstick to me, it's like sunglasses. I'm going to buy it new once a month probably because I'm going to lose the previous one. So I think I have 3 different chapsticks floating around this room right now.
Yeah, I mean that's why I've never really heard of people sharing chapstick because I feel like there's too much chapstick in the world.
Yeah. If you think there's too much chapstick in the world, please click our affiliate link
For chapstick.
vodka chapstick removal.
Recycling.
Yeah. If you're in the pocket of big chapstick,
Well, and we're using
We
the
will take you
brand.
down.
Like, and look at that. I use a Kleenex for my chapstick.
Oh no.
And sometimes I'll wipe the excess on a Band-Aid. We're just throwing a lot of product names out there, but I mean, what do you call? What is chapstick? What's the generic? It's not lip balm, is it? Because
Yeah,
lip
I
balm
think
don't you have to apply that like with a finger?
But lip balm, it's lip balm in a tube.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't think it necessarily has to be medicated the way you would think like some lip balms are. I don't know, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, why was it never lip salve? Because I think to me, a balm and a salve are very similar.
I would rather
This is
leave
where
this as
we're-
an open question instead of Googling it because
Yeah.
I'd rather this be a mystery.
Is a salve more lotiony, like a more liquidy, and a balm is the thicker, more petroleum jelly-ish version?
I'm sure it comes down to ingredients and not consistency.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I can get behind that.
That's what I would guess.
See, it's a good thing we're not doing this as a live podcast. Otherwise, like, our comment section would be flooded right now.
Yeah.
Actually, they'd be excited that there's a girl here.
Yeah, they would be.
They would be.
You're our second female guest, Randy.
Oh.
third.
How nice.
Third?
Christina's a girl.
Oh, yeah. And I guess Tanya, Scotch's wife.
Oh yeah, so 4th.
But I mean, you're
Have you
pretty
been-
close to the top of the list. If I was gonna cut a chunk of the show out, it would be that right there. But we've made a deal that once the mics start rolling, we're not cutting anything out of this show. It's
It's
truly
all natural,
conversational.
which is good because
Unless something truly damning.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you about a time Randy came over to my house and ate dog food.
Oh no.
So I had a bunch of freezer burned vegetables.
Oh yeah.
And I was making homemade dog food, and the way you made it was you took a crock pot out and you cooked up all of these like veggies, and then it was like I had put a ton of sweet potato in there to make sure that the digestion was great. And what I was trying to do is essentially make dog food where I knew everything going into the dog
Yeah.
food. And I had Randy over with a bunch of other people, and she was like, I'm hungry. I said, well, go help yourself to anything in the kitchen. She comes back with a plate or a little bowl of something hot. And I said, well, what did you find in there? She's like, oh, well, I'm just eating what's in your crock pot. And I was like, Randy, that is food I made for my dog. It's dog food. She's like, well, it's good. And she had a second bowl of it. And it's not like it had kibble in it or anything like that.
It had rice in there, too, and
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for rice.
The sucker for rice, huh?
Yeah. The funny thing about that story is I think about it often.
Want my recipe?
Yes, I do. Because we make dog food for Juniper now.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah?
we watched this documentary on Netflix about dog food, and it changed our lives, and we never want to give our dog traditional dog food ever again.
Really?
Yeah, it's called
Tell me some deets.
It's called Pet Fooled. Yeah, see what they did there? But
Is it capital FOO? Like capital F, capital O, and then lowercase L-E, and then capital D. So it looks like pet food, but old.
if it isn't, it should be.
I always thought of myself as quite the font smith. I'm very good when it comes to fonts and using lettering.
You should
but
put that
keep
on
go-
your resume.
I will.
Fooled is actually spelled with a PH because they wanted to make it like, kitchen, like country kitchen or whatever. They spelled the K. I'm just kidding. They didn't.
Oh,
It just,
I was gonna be like PH. Like, did a doctor do this?
well, oh yeah. See, you're good.
It would have been capital P, lowercase h, capital. No, keep
I
going.
can see it. That's actually one of my biggest pet peeves when companies like change the letters, like when C's should be K's and K's or like Zorba's. There's this pizza place that the locals here know called Zorba's, and they change all their S's to Z's.
I kind of feel like they should be the exception to the rule, though.
No, Tucker, here's the thing. It's because, like, okay, I get that it's a gimmick, right? And they spell their spaghettis.
Spaghetti. I always say things like this when it's Zorba's.
I feel like when it's a marketing thing, like a billboard or whatever, it's part of their branding. But when you're trying to read something in the menu and like salad is salad, like it's just like
Didn't after like 9/11 they put up a wanted poster for Osama bin Laden? I think they did.
No, what happened was my 18th birthday was shortly after 9/11.
Oh, okay.
And we went to my lake cabin for the weekend. On the way home, a ton of us stopped at Zorba's, and there was a wanted poster for Osama bin Laden, and we commented on the fact that, like, shouldn't it be Osama bin Laden?
okay,
and
I'm
they're
glad
like,
it was-
right, and they grabbed a Sharpie and they changed it.
No. See, I was an English major, and so I can get behind certain branding gimmicks, but at like if you're using it in a sentence, it just like really bothers me.
So what bothers me about the Zorba Z is it's not universal to their menu. There's still some stuff that, like, consuming instead of consuming. They still say consuming raw or
They
That must
do?
be a legal thing, though.
I don't care. If you're going to commit to it, commit to it. Don't half-ass it and call companies like Coors Light and be like, listen, we're going to feature your product in our place, but it's going to be Coors Light.
I feel like if you are gonna substitute a letter for another letter like that, you have to do the full reversal as
Yeah.
well. So
Go
if it's
big or
an
go
S,
home.
that should, or if it's a Z, that should be an S.
Oh yeah.
So like, did you see those
Pizza.
Sioux animals before you went to Zorba's? You know,
Right.
But
can we
they'd
get
be-
some pizza?
Then I was going to say it'd be Zorba's Pissa. So
I
there
hope
probably
they're
was somebody
listening. I hope they're
on day
listening.
one. There was probably someone who was like, "Hey, we should do this," but someone immediately goes, "We're not going to serve pissa, okay? That's just not going to happen, guys."
All right. Anyway, back to Pet Fool.
Yeah, bed full.
It's a documentary that talks about how you should give your animals species appropriate food. So whatever, because there's this lady that is like has an animal rescue, and she feeds each animal what they would eat in the wild, and they showed a huge recovery rate for it, like faster than anywhere else. And so they have been applying how you should apply this to dogs and cats and things, and how the pet food industry puts so much garbage, like the worst meat possible, like rejected even what humans eat, and then your dog's eating that, and all these filler carbs and things that they were never meant to eat, and it's causing all these health problems that humans have. Like, I know pets that are on like diabetes medications and anxiety pills and like all this stuff, and it's their theory is it's because of the pet food. And so we switched our dog's food over to raw food and it was like a different dog, like in a good way. Like the color in her fur came back and her demeanor like softened, and her, like, nose wasn't always dry, and it was just like really great. So we did raw food for a while, and now we're playing more around with just cooking our own food too. So.
I can see, definitely the switch from, a carb or starchy diet to like a protein heavy diet for a carnivore, like a dog or a cat. But I wonder, like, I've always sort of taken some issue with the notion, the philosophical notion of, well, this is what they would have eaten in the wild. But it's like these animals don't exist in the wild. They never did. This Chihuahua we have here, this was made by humans.
Right.
So, but the notion that, the food that they're typically getting, it's obviously garbage because those companies are, it's cost benefit analysis, right? Like most people aren't going to look into the ingredients of their dog's food.
Right.
So we can make it as cheaply as possible. The dog, when they're eating it, isn't going to voice an opinion because they just love to eat food. Christina Johnson was one of the guests we had on the podcast for the Burning Man episode with Mike Rezel.
Which is a great episode. Check it out.
Episode 3. And she feeds her cats raw animals, like just whole carcasses.
What?
Only animal carcasses. I think she has 3 cats, and she gets, mice, birds, probably other stuff too, and literally just takes it out of the freezer, just throws it. There you go. And they eat it like bone and all.
We fed Juniper
I can't do that.
geese legs. She ate them all up. Just like we have a friend that hunts, and he would drop. It was kind of sketchy. He would drop a black plastic bag full of geese legs in our spare tires behind our garage. And then we'd go pick them up and feed them to June. But she loves those things. Yeah. So I think it's just finding something that makes sense. Again, it's like being more intentional about what you're doing in life, which is something I talk about in a lot in different areas of life. But even when it comes to dog food, like what would make sense for them to be eating. It's not usually kibble. And plus it's dry kibble. Like think of eating dry cereal every day, all day. Like that's not going to be good for anybody. And so
there's a move in the 80s where they tried to make kibble that was coated in a substance where you'd pour water over it and it would become a delicious gravy. And I remember thinking like, no. If that were possible, they would have perfected that with like potatoes, where I wouldn't have to put gravy on my potatoes. I just pour some water over that and it'd become a delicious gravy. Let's focus on human beings first when coming with gravy breakthroughs.
I'm all for focusing on animals first. I could give a shit about people, truly.
You were one of my first hardcore cat lover friends.
Really?
Yeah. I remember that specifically about you, how much you love cats.
Yeah. My kitties are my babies. I'm probably not feeding them as high quality food as you're feeding your dog right now, but they do get a varied diet. They switch between dry and wet food.
But cats are more persnickety than dogs as well. Because I've had people that have tried to switch their cats over to a healthier diet or a more raw diet, and they're like, no.
I'm lucky with these two because they both eat like alley cats. So it's like if food is there, they're going to eat it all because they feel like they don't know the next time they're going to eat, even though they know very well where it's a very regimented schedule at our house. So they're going to be fine. But yeah, they'll eat pretty much anything I put in front of them. And sometimes I'll even just get as a treat like a can of tuna in water because I know exactly what it is. It's fish in water, right? Like there's really, there's some sodium and stuff on the side, but not a ton of preservatives in it. And they'll eat that up too.
Yeah. Do you know that I have a garage cat?
What?
Yeah. When we moved into our house, the previous owners left us a note saying that there's an alley cat that they feed, and they left a big bag of bird seed for the birds. So they gave us specific instructions for the neighborhood creatures. And my husband Nate is like the biggest softie. Like he just loves animals and loves cats. And he
picked well.
Good man. And he was like all about this alley cat, and we lost her for a while because we got our puppy and she didn't come around again. But then she started coming around again and letting us pet her and stuff, which was super weird. And I come home from work one day and I'm pulling my car into the garage, and there's this, in between the two stalls, there's this little cat door that has been built into our garage. And there's a bed and like this thing, he made this like bed out of some like stuff in our garage, and so now she's like a part of the family, and she'll go on walks with us. Like when we take June for a walk, she'll be like a block away meowing at us, and that's how she walks with us. Like
Have
she'll
you
follow
named
us.
the cat?
Well, Nate named her Fluffer Kitten. Like a fluffer kitten. He has this thing, and they're either a fluffer kitten or a meowmers. Anyway, you should have him on to talk about his cat philosophy.
He and I think, could now have long conversations.
Okay.
Because I call dog pooper sniffers.
Yeah.
It depends on what the dog is doing at the moment, but it's like,
Yeah.
oh, pooper sniffer's taking a poop.
Nate thinks that they're like, it's like their personality.
Yeah.
Like a meowmers is more refined. A fluffer kitten is more like scrappy. But so he calls her Fluffer Katan, or we call her Tan Tan or something like that. But she's pretty sweet.
Why not Heathcliff?
JJ.
You don't get it,
JJ, not
JJ.
everything your Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, because I was just thinking, like, it's an alley cat. Well, Heathcliff had the alley cats.
But
They were
she's
friends
great.
of
But
his.
Heathcliff was an asshole, too.
Yeah, but then every
This cat
time
seems
every
nice.
time you saw this cat, you'd be like, Heathcliff, Heathcliff, no one should terrorize the neighborhood.
Did they ever settle that age-old question of Heathcliff versus Garfield? Was that ever settled?
Oh, it's Garfield. Heathcliff is the our family version of Garfield.
Oof. But if you've seen Garfield Tale of Two Kitties, though, right? I mean,
You mean voiced by the Bill Murray?
yeah.
Have you ever heard the story? I don't know if this is true, that when Bill Murray was offered the role of Garfield and he saw that Joel Cohen was directing, he thought it was Joel Cohen of the Cohen brothers. So he's like, oh, that sounds like I've wanted to work with those guys for a long time. And then he got there and he hadn't read the script. And so he's in the booth and he's reading like the first page. And he goes, hold on, wait a minute. And so he was trying to rewrite the script in the booth while they're recording it. And you're not going to tell Bill Murray no. We're going to ask about that because one of our guests that we're going to have on this show, come hell or high water, is Stephen Tobolowsky, who plays the villain in the first Garfield movie.
Well, did you know that Roger Ebert's review of Garfield Tale of Two Kitties is written as Garfield?
What?
He wrote it as Garfield.
What did he have to say?
He loved it.
Okay.
Because who did was it Tim Curry who does the voice of the aristocrat? If you don't know Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties, it's not like the store. It's not like the book A Tale of Two Cities. It's The Prince and the Pauper, and that in itself is what the.
It's so deceiving.
What were you thinking? Like, just get it right. Call it Garfield. The kitty and the pauper, but Garfield looks just like an aristocratic cat, and they switch.
Oh, so he's a meowmers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Instead of a fluffer cat.
I have a meowmers and I have a fluffer cat, I guess, by the definition that you've laid out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was hoping that Tale of Two Kitties would be more like a West Side Story, and they'd be like da 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 da.
You know who has done the best West Side Story parody of all time?
Okay, you go first.
On the count of three, let's say it. 1, 2, 3. Animaniacs.
She cheated.
I blanked. Fly to the Conchords.
Oh.
They have that one
yeah.
song that's kind of like it. But
no. You're wrong. It's Animaniacs.
Okay.
Because they write a mini musical that takes place in 6 minutes, and it's about the sparrows and the pigeons. And they want to perch on a statue of Martin Scorsese, and so it's like, good feathers perch on Scorsese's head. Why can't we perch on Scorsese's head? Carluta,
You're
I
right.
just met a girl named Carluta.
That's way better than
And
Fly to the Conchords.
The Animaniacs album is one of my favorite albums growing
They
up.
are.
Fantastic. I mean, the states,
The states, the capitals.
the countries, the planets, just unbelievably good.
Yeah.
That's how I know all my state capitals. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus. I've done a lot of singing on this episode.
What was the shrink's name?
Dr. Van Nuysen or Shuffleversh?
It's probably
Snuffer
in
Bruffer
between
Fur.
those two
Yeah.
somewhere.
sounds about right.
I was trying to remember his name because there was he was sort of their Wile E. Coyote, I guess, and that he was always getting foiled.
Yeah.
But
It's good stuff.
Animaniacs.
I loved Animaniacs.
I did too.
I'm so excited that I think they're talking about bringing it back.
I hope
with
they
some
do.
new stuff.
I hope they
Here's
do.
the thing, though. They've got to do it well.
They do.
Not
Recently-
3D.
No,
Not
has
3D.
to be 2D animated.
Yeah.
not to take this in another tangent here, but they recently remade Muppet Babies.
What?
What?
Yeah, Disney Junior remade Muppet Babies, and it's CG, and they get rid of half of the Muppet Babies. So there's no Scooter or Skeeter, his sister that
Is
we
there any
only
Star
see.
Wars footage in the opening?
No.
Oh my gosh.
And they sing some songs, and even like the new version of the theme song. 2018 and 19 are bad years for shows that I love that I thought had potential. I think they really missed the mark on the remake of DuckTales.
Really?
I was really excited. David Tennant is Scrooge. That sounds great.
That sounds brilliant.
But it
didn't.
misses. It misses, and I think the animation suffers from it. It doesn't have the fun.
My question is why? Why bring these things back?
Nostalgia money.
Yes.
This is one of my biggest issues, though, is like, just let it be the work of art that it is.
If you're going to
Why-
remake something that was bad instead
Like
of something
Roger
that was
Ebert
great.
says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the troll movies.
Are you talking about
Like
the troll,
old
like
troll,
the
like
the old troll,
scary
not
movie
not the
trolls.
new DreamWorks animation?
Those are the
trolls?
remakes of the old troll.
Remember when the trolls were also like rock and roll ninja guys? On like they had a cartoon.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
troll warriors, I
Yeah.
think, or something like that.
Warriors?
What?
They were and they had gems, I think, that would turn them into like powerful
Like
troll
in their
warriors.
tummies?
I can't remember.
Because I think
Yeah,
trolls
belly
used to have
buttons.
They
gems
used to have
in
gems
their
in their
Yeah.
tummies, yeah.
So yeah, so why is this a thing? Like, why do people feel like they have to remake all this
Money.
old stuff?
Yeah,
Nostalgia
so
money.
we that's the stuff we grew up with, right? DuckTales was my favorite show growing up, and now I have expendable income to spend on it because I'm an adult, and
Then
so
you're gonna-
I will do
yeah.
things like, I don't know, order a new cover art piece for the DuckTales television show that cost me $70.
But why
and
can't
they
they
can charge it and
do-
I'll pay it.
Here's the thing, nostalgia money. I feel like Stranger Things, like they made a new thing that has the nostalgia of Goonies and Indiana Jones, but it's a new thing that was really well done. Like that's when I feel like nostalgia's done right. But when they try to remake all these old things, it's just like, I don't know, it just takes some of the magic out of it.
That's a very astute point.
You can never go home again, I think, in that world, right? Like if you have a great memory of watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Chuck Jones version, and you have these feelings wrapped up in it, there's no way it can stick
Yeah.
to this mount and compare to that. You cannot help but compare it to that. So like that's why when they announced Indiana Jones 4, I thought no, because you just can't go back to it. You can't go back to the magic of Harrison Ford and Raiders.
Oh, I was all in. I was so excited, and then the first 15 seconds happened. and
Haven't
I
you
went,
learned your lesson?
No, I haven't. I will blindly go back over and over and over again and hope that someone gets it right. What I don't understand is this. Not only are we the people who loved this and we're the key market, we're the P1s to get all technical for you on this thing, that we're the P1s of this marketing and this merchandise, and we should also be the people creating it, and we should have such love for it, but it's our generation that's screwing everything up
Yeah.
and changing the things. Like I don't know how old the guys were who wrote the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, but they missed the ball.
I didn't even see him.
Good
Oh,
for you.
They're bad.
I was just like, I can't, because I loved the Ninja Turtles. And
Yep.
I just knew it wasn't going to be the same.
And maybe here's the thing. Maybe to the new audiences of the Turtles, that is great. I know a good friend of all of ours, Tim Larson, talks about the most recent animated version that was on Nickelodeon. It's really good. Also, recently, there was a new Scooby-Doo series that was awesome. Because it was a little tongue-in-cheek. It was, they wrote it to be a little funnier in some aspects. And I loved it, and they got it right. And then the next version of Scooby-Doo, I went, ugh.
Yeah. Some things
Also, why don't we make more shows where it's things that we love but as babies? Muppet Babies, Flintstone Kids,
Christmas babies.
Christmas Babies. That's another Randy and JJ story. We always figured that there was an elite superhero team of babies that lived in the Christmas villages that you see set up
The
everywhere.
tiny ones.
Yeah.
Not
Okay,
like the legit
gotcha.
ones, but
Yeah.
like the tiny little houses,
That
around Christmas time.
Yeah, like set up like at Herberger's or like
Yeah,
at other
Shotwell's.
stores. Yeah.
When Shotwell's was around. Yeah, the Christmas babies. We had a theme song somewhere in there. I don't remember what it was.
God, we had a lot of time not working at jobs. to
A lot of
put
driving
into
around with
A lot of
JJ and
driving
Randy.
around. A lot of backstage.
That's how we
during
should have
shows.
recorded this podcast, was to get in the
Yeah.
car and take the show on the road.
Well,
but we don't have
2.0.
enough batteries in the car to power all of our equipment.
Yeah.
How do you record your podcast, Randy?
So.
And let's shout out to your podcast.
Oh, I have a podcast called The Simple Self-Care Podcast, and you can listen on iTunes or wherever. Or Apple Podcasts now, I guess it's called. But yeah, how I record it is I just got a decent mic, and I go under a blanket for sound. And I'm
What kind of a blanket? Is
huddled
it
in there.
thick?
Depends. I use my quilt when I'm.
Is it thick?
I
Well,
do.
you know,
I
there's
use.
many types of blankets.
If I'm in my living room, it's the quilt blanket. If
Okay.
I'm just like in my bedroom or in like my little side room, I have a lighter blanket because you don't need as much reverb or whatever. So that's how I record my podcast.
That's totally legit, though. It actually is. Like with podcasts, a lot of people do not things. I would bet most podcasts aren't much more technical than yours. For this one, we just want to make sure that we can accommodate like a larger group of people to talk at
Yeah,
the same time. But
that is tricky because
That's why we found this abandoned Arby's
yeah.
and set it up as our studio.
smells like beef and cheese.
Yeah, this is where I keep my slide whistle though. So every time we start the show and we have to play the song.
Yeah, that's Tucker and I playing that song every time.
I'm
And
on
we have
slide
a
whistle.
recording of Scotch that we play off of a cell phone. There's a lot that goes into it. Well, why don't we just mix that down sometime?
Well, it's the authenticity of the moment.
Okay.
And every time's a little different if you listen closely.
That's my deflection for JJ whenever he's like, "Well, how come we don't have a horse on this show?" I'll be like, "It's I just have to deflect." He's kind of like Prince. I have to just point him in a different direction.
We are going to come back to that horse conversation, though,
Yeah.
because I think that it would really add some authenticity to every now and then get a
JJ wants to replace me with a horse, basically.
Oh, that's a compliment. Like, somehow.
We would change our board to just be a series of apples that it would push and eat. It would be a lot of fun.
You should get a horse up here.
Yeah.
Oh, why not?
See, Randy's on board for
Or
it.
go to a horse.
Yeah, but Randy records her podcast under a blanket.
You told me that was legit.
But now I need to use it as a wedge
Yep.
to win this argument with JJ. I'm curious,
fine.
how long have you been doing your podcast for? How many episodes are there right now?
So there's about 21 episodes right now. It started as a newsletter. I would send out a Self-Care Sunday newsletter. And so I started talking a lot about the subject of self-care because people would come into me for sessions and yoga classes, and we'd do a lot of things to heal their pain, but then they'd go back to their lifestyle that was creating the pain in the first place. And so I just started that conversation of like, here are some ways you can be mindful, or even when with you, I made you that PDF of back stretches to do. And so that's where the magic really happens, is in your lifestyle. So I started sending out a weekly newsletter, and I did that for about 2 years. And then I decided to just make it a podcast because I like talking and there can be more of a community around it. And I've had some people on the podcast. And,
Do they go under the blanket with you?
No.
JJ, I'm going to start incorporating a blanket into how you and I do this.
Okay, I'd like a nice Afghan, please.
It's a
How
nice,
thick?
I would say medium thick, but no animal hair.
Okay, good to know. Synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I haven't snuggled under a blanket with anyone yet, but usually they're on the phone somewhere
Got
else
it.
in the world. I did record a podcast once with Joe and Simone from Folkways. They do the farmers market, and they have a mobile sauna, and so we did one inside the sauna, and that was fun. But I just used my iPhone because I don't have a
Sure.
mic for that yet. But anyway, yeah, so I started the podcast, I think this summer. The first episode was on the eclipse. I was out on my
Ooh.
kayak on the lake watching the eclipse and recording my podcast because I thought that'd be a cool beginning.
That is as hipster as they come.
I know, it's super hipster.
I put down my my agave tea, and I grabbed a box from my most recent Etsy purchase.
Wearing some shorts I woven from the wheat.
That kind of sounds
Horn
like
rimmed glasses with no lenses.
that's like if you were a druid who decided to have a podcast.
yeah, yeah, right.
Welcome to Druidry with Drew.
Write that down as another podcast.
Yeah, I'm
idea
gonna
for us.
reserve that URL right now.
Do
I've
it.
got two podcast related questions that I'd
Yeah.
like answered. Number one, how come I've never been invited to be on your podcast?
You know what? During this conversation, I was like, I gotta get JJ on here.
Yeah.
And you should come too.
Sure.
We should just do a version of this for my podcast.
That works totally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll just replace our theme song with your theme song.
Okay.
And then you can play it up. Number two, I would like to hear about your experience being on John Hodgman's podcast,
Oh, yes, Judge John Hodgman.
which is a phenomenal podcast.
Fantastic
When you're
podcast.
done listening to
Yeah.
all of ours, check his out.
Yeah, so I don't know how it came about. I love Judge John Hodgman, so I listened to it. And my ex-partner and we were in really, well, I've been into X-Files for a long time, and we were gifted these X-Files Mulder and Scully in the packaging, and we couldn't decide if we should keep them in there for keeper's sake or take them out and use them in our daily lives, right? So I'm like, we should totally write into Judge John Hodgman about this. And he said yes. And so his producer, who I still email every once in a while, she's very nice.
Jesse, I think is his name.
No, their like producer person
got
that
it.
nobody knows about.
Got it.
But anyway, so
Who doesn't
Yeah.
get on the microphone like the attention
Like-
whore that I
Well,
am.
like
Yeah.
Craig. Like we've got Craig back there.
Yeah.
Wait,
spinning
Craig's
all
back
the
there?
dials. Yeah.
He just makes sure
Get
that the
down, Craig.
he just makes sure that the power cable doesn't come out of the wall.
right. Do you feed him well?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's getting college credit for this.
This is an internship.
He goes to Phoenix Online. We don't have a program with them, so he's gonna be very disappointed in 6 months.
Affiliate link to
So-
the non-existent program at the end of this. No, yeah. So we went on there, and he was a very great and gracious judge. It was kind of surreal though, because I've loved John. It's John Hodgman, and it was just like we were on this podcast, but it was really fun. So that was my first podcast experience.
Judge John Hodgman, for those of you who don't know the format, essentially he takes two people who have a differing opinion or an argument about something, and you both lay out your case.
Yeah.
And he figures out what the answer should be for you.
Yeah. So he'll leave the room, so to speak, and figure it out, and then you're talking with Jesse, I believe, and then he comes back and will give his verdict, and you have to decide.
And no spoilers, because I want people to listen to
Yeah.
your episode about what it is. But you each get to put forth a piece of evidence.
Yeah, you have evidence. Yeah, that was really fun actually, because we didn't know what each other's evidence was, and so it was surprising because I totally thought I had it in the bag, and then he like brought in some evidence, and I was like, no. So it was really fun. It was really exciting. It was quite a while ago, so you'll have to go back many episodes to find it, but it's the X-Files one. If you're searching.
I mean, I think if you Google Judge John Hodgman and then Randi, Randi, it's like the second thing that comes up.
Oh,
and it's
really?
And it has X-Files in the title, so you want to
Yeah.
check that out. Randy, thanks for being a guest on the podcast. This has been a ton of fun.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you come back soon.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay.
We can talk about all the things.
Yeah, because there's way more in Randy and I's sordid history that we need to discuss.
And again, before we go, why don't you just tell the audience where they can find you online, your podcast,
yeah.
your social, all that stuff.
Wow. Yeah, so my website is naturallyrandikay.com, and that's naturally RANDIKAY.com. And that's where I post, if you're in the area where you can book sessions with me and take my workshops, or I'm doing some online courses coming up. So that's where you can find all of that. You can sign up to my weekly newsletter there. And then there's links to the podcast there as well. So that's where you'll find that. And then on Instagram at naturallyrandikay. It's my main hangs.
we didn't even talk
So.
about when the time we met Lisa Welchel from Facts of Life.
Yeah.
Blair.
Yeah.
So we'll have to save that for the next episode. That's our tease.
That was epic. Yeah.
Please click our affiliate link for Randi Kay. We get 100% of the proceeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100.
You
for
didn't know
sure.
that coming in, but we're going to
Oh.
take all of the money you make from that thing. So you're
Okay.
welcome.
Only if you
Welcome
put
to
it
economy.
back.
That's the business model of this
Yep.
podcast is just to steal from every guest that
Only
comes
if
on.
you buy nostalgia memorabilia overpriced.
To get yourself a DuckTales massage.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, thanks for listening to JJ Meets World with my guest, Randi Kay.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. For more info, including how you can help us keep the lights on by donating to our Patreon, visit our website, www.jjmeetsworld.com, or hit us up on social media, yo. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites that kids are using these days. And if you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcasts you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you'd like to book JJ for one of your live events, perhaps a quinceañera, go to www.linebenders.com. And if you happen to have a personal connection to the Tom Hanks, we'd really like to get him on this program at some point. We could fly him out here to where we record. We could fly out there and meet him. And just to be clear, I'm not looking for Tom Hanks from the movie Big. I'm looking for Tom Hanks from Pittsburgh. That Tom Hanks. So don't waste my time with the guy who was in Forrest Gump.